Hello, this is Master Trainer Brad Glaser. We're going to be going through our static stretching routine. Some of you might have muscle imbalances all over your body. Some might have a few. So it's important to know what tightnesses you have in your body before you stretch. You don't want to hyperextend or stretch a muscle that is already weak or deactivated, because it'll actually make the muscle weaker. It'll decrease the neural drive to the muscle group and could cause more issues in the future. So when we do static stretching, the idea here is to hold the position for at least 30 seconds to a minute. If you have time, hold it as long as possible until it releases. So if you hold a stretch and say it takes, it's like from a pain scale from 1 to a 10, and it's like a 7 or 8, you might want to back off on the stretch just a little bit till it's more comfortable at like around a 4 or 5. Just because it might take, you might not relax into it, and it might take a little longer for you to actually release the tight muscles. So on the video before, we massaged the muscles out with the foam roller, so we got rid of the knots. Imagine my fingers are muscle fibers and they're all bundled up together. They bundle up and turn into knots. So before you stretch, you need to make sure you get rid of the knots, because if you stretch with a knot, it could actually make it tighter, or you can actually pull the muscle, and we don't want that to happen. So self-myofascial release, or massage the muscles that are tighter, is very, very important. Now, after you release the knot, then that's what this portion is for, is stretching. So you want to pull those fibers apart so that way you have full range of motion and help address those muscle imbalances if you have any. All right, so the first stretch we're going to do is a really simple one. It's a calf stretch. So you're going to find you can use a wall, a step, or anything you want. What you're going to do is put your foot on something high. This one's mainly for your gastrocnemius, so you're going to try to feel a pull right up here in the top of the calf. And what you're going to do is just going to hold it. Like for me, since I stretch often, this feels like it may be a 1 or a 2. And you don't want to move, you just want to hold this. And for me, it's released. You want to hold this for about, again, 30 seconds to a minute, or until it releases. You can't really hurt your muscles by holding a static stretch. I've held a static stretch for 30 minutes one time with my hamstring, and it was really, really tight. I played ice hockey for 10 years and I had a horrible hamstring. So for me, this released. And if you want to go for a deeper stretch, all you do is you lean into it a little bit more. I'm going to show you a couple of variations with this. So this is for your gastrocnemius, gastroc. Then you can go for your soleus. Soleus is just bending the knee. So you're in the same position. Now you're bending both knees. And you're trying to get a pull more in the ankle, the Achilles tendon, soleus, right down here. Same principle. You're going to hold it for 30 seconds to a minute, or until it releases. Like for me, I don't really feel much anymore. Okay, we'll pretend a couple minutes has passed, and you just switch feet. Very simple. Make sure your calves are loose. For females, if you wear a lot of high heels, or if you run a lot, calves can get really tight. So it's really important to make sure that they stay loose. Otherwise, you'll have a lot of possible injuries from that. Plantar fasciitis, shin splints. You can even get jumper's knee from that imbalance. So it's just important to make sure that your calves are loose, and make sure also they're not knotted either. All right, next, that was your calves. There's another one you can do for your calves. It's really simple. Is you just basically, you hold onto a wall or anything, and you're trying to drive your back heel to the floor. Hopefully you can see that, just like so. Go over here. There you go. You can see that there. And the same idea, you're getting into gastrocs, just in case you don't have a step or whatnot. And the same idea also, you're going to bend your knee, push your heel on the floor, get the soleus also. It's just a little easier if you have a step or something that's on an angle. You can get that calf stretch. It just popped. Okay. Next, so that was your calves. Next is your IT bands. IT bands, I like to use a bar. If you don't have a squat rack, that's fine. There's other variations of the stretch. IT bands, piriformis glutes. If your knees externally rotate, there's a high chance that your IT bands, glute piriformis is tight. So it's important to make sure that they stay loose. You can get IT band tendinitis, lateral, maybe even medial knee pain, and or tightness in the hips. You can get sciatica from your piriformis being too tight. So this just stretches overall the entire area. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna get about the bar, about hip height, or a table or something that's high. You're gonna put your ankle there, and then drive your knee there. You want your shin to be parallel to the bar or wherever you're pulling from. And all you're gonna do is lean forward, like so. And then what you're looking for is a nice pull in the butt, IT band, all the way down. Same idea, same principle. You're gonna hold this for about 30 seconds to a minute until it releases. I've held an IT band stretch for 5 minutes one time because mine were just so tight from ice hockey. It just depends on how tight you are and how long you need to hold the stretch for it to release. Now what we're dealing with here is muscle memory. So if your muscles are tight due to multiple contractions of sports or even a static contraction like sitting all day, you're training, you're teaching your muscles to stay tight. So it's important to make sure you reiterate new muscle memory so that way the muscles can release or relax. Otherwise you're going to have a lot of muscle imbalances and a lot of potential joint pain. So that is why you need to hold it for a longer duration to reiterate new muscle memory, to reteach your muscles to be in a longer position. When you're feeling that stretch, it's like a little burning, a little pulling feeling. What you're really doing is you're exciting your Golgi tendon organ, each muscle spindle. What that purpose of the organ is, it stops you from pulling muscles. So if you didn't have that organ, you'd literally pull muscles no matter what you did, walking, anything. And its job is to restrict range of motion. And the only way to excite it is by holding a passive stretch, a static stretch in order to release. You can do active isolated and dynamic stretches, which are a little more advanced stretches. But the easiest way to excite that organ is to hold it for a period of time until you excite it, and then it actually lets go, it releases the muscle. All right, we're gonna switch feet, ankle, knee, you're gonna lean forward, and you can obviously lean forward as far as you want. The more you lean forward, the more pull you're gonna get. All right, so we'll say a couple minutes has passed. So that one's for your IT bands. There's a couple other variations for that. If you're seated in a chair, for example, I'll bring a bench over here. You sit down in the chair, really simple. Same idea, cross your leg over. You can do this anywhere, sitting in a chair, at your desk at work, anywhere. And you're gonna feel the same pull, and you just lean forward if you want and get a bigger stretch. This is probably the simplest thing to do if you don't have a squat rack. Same idea, and you just switch. Just like that. All right, next, adductors. We'll check those out. So if you have a squat bar, squat rack, easiest way to check those out. Ankle on the bar, leg extended on the floor. And then you're just going to reach to the side. Don't reach this way because you're not going to actually get the pull in the adductor. You're going to reach this way, arm overhead if you want, and you're going to feel a little pull right through here in your adductor. How you stretch a muscle is you get your origin point as far as possible from your insertion point. If you know all of your muscles in your body, it's really easy to learn how to manipulate them. So you know how to contract them, you know how to extend them, you know how to isometric contract them, etc. So that's the basic principle. So for the adductor, it starts in the pelvis, pubis down here, and then it starts in the medial side of the knee. So how you stretch that muscle is you get the origin point the insertion point as far away as possible from the origin point. So literally just opening your leg like so. Every single stretch that we're doing, if you know your muscles, the origin and insertion points, you can kind of get an idea of how to stretch those muscles in the future. And there's a safe way and there's a wrong way to stretch. You can hyperextend muscles, so you got to be careful with that. Again, just make sure that you have good form and you're not going past like a 5 to 7 on a pain scale, because there's a chance you could potentially rupture the muscle or pull the muscle, and you don't want to do that while you stretch. So you'll be spacing your feet out. Your feet are straight, train tracks, and then you're going to reach down, make sure your knees following your toe, and you're going to feel a pull right through here. Hold it for 30 seconds to a minute, and then switch sides. All right, so that was your adductors. Next, let's check your hamstrings. Hamstrings get tight from sitting. Most people sit at a sedentary position most of the day. So they tend to get really tight just from being isometric and contracted all day long. So let's check your hamstrings out. What you're gonna do is, if you have a bar, great. If you don't, find a table, something high. You're gonna have both feet straight, following through, make sure your hips are centered. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna reach with the opposite hand and hold your foot, or touch your toe if you can. And you're trying to reach from your pelvis, not your spine. So you're gonna try to keep that back straight as much as possible as reach forward. And switch. There's other variations to the hamstring stretch. When you do it, make sure that your knee is straight. You can bend your knee a little bit more if you want to get more of a pull from the origin point, but ideally you want to try to keep your knee not locked out, but a slight bend and touching your toe. Seconds to a minute. A big good pull, and then relax. Bend and touching your toe. Seconds to a minute. A big good pull, and then relax. So this is another variation of the hamstring stretch. What you can do is cross your leg over. You can see what I'm doing here. I'm gonna face it this way. Cross your leg over, like so, and then what you're gonna do is you're gonna reach down. Front leg is gonna be bent, back leg is gonna be straight, and you're gonna touch your toes. You're gonna get a good pull, hamstring, maybe a little bit of the IT bend on the back leg. That's in case if you don't have something high to hold on to. Now if your balance is bad, please don't fall. Hold on to something, so you can easily have a bar next to you as you reach down. Table, chair, doesn't matter. And you're trying to get a big pull right back through here. All right. And as a reminder, make sure you hold each stretch for 30 seconds to a minute, or longer until it actually releases. All right, next stretch I want to show is the hip flexor stretch, the iliopsoas. You could also get the rectus femoris this way. It gets tight from people sitting all day, so if you sit all day, most people do, hip flexors, hamstrings get tight. So because of that hip flexor gets tight, it actually pulls the lower back inward and can cause lower back pain because your iliopsoas connects to your lumbar spine. So I'm going to show you how to do the hip flexor stretch on a bench. I feel that's the most effective. You could also, I'll show you how to do it on the floor also. So what you're going to do, put your knee, hip on the bench. You're gonna have your other leg as far forward as possible. Make sure your hip stays on the bench, and you're gonna pull your heel to your butt while you push and lean backward. And you're trying to get a pull, a stretch right through here, through your quad and your hip flexor. Make sure your heel tries to go to your butt as you lean backward. "30 seconds to a minute. Switch. Foot far forward, drive your hip into the bench, grab your heel, push back. Seconds to a minute. So that one is the iliopsoas, hip flexor. That's how you stretch that. I'm going to show you how to do it on the floor if you don't have a bench at home, how to do it. And now we're going to do mostly floor work. Ideally you want to do these stretches on a soft surface. If you're on the floor, just because you're gonna be on your knees sometimes, and you can make your knees sore just from applying too much pressure. So if you have carpet, that's fine, something that's soft. Obviously I have a gym mat that you can use, and it just feels better. Okay, so the other variation hip flexor stretch is you're going to be in a lunge position. I like to use something to hold on to just so that way you don't fall. You're going to place your knee back far behind you. You're going to drive this knee forward, make sure your feet are straight. And then you're going to push your hip forward. And then you're going to grab onto your back leg and hold on to that. You're going to get the same pull as the bench stretch. If it's hard for you to balance, you can use this to help balancing. So again, lunge position, one leg in front. You can see both views here. You're going to drive your hip forward, get a pull in the hip flexor, heel the butt, and then lean back. Hold this for 30 seconds to a minute. Okay, great. All right, so that was the hip flexor. There's other variations to that. I typically don't go to the extreme. You can do like the pigeon yoga pose. It tends to put a lot more pressure on the hips, so in a bad way. Hyperextends your hips, it just hyper extends your hips, let me say it that way. And it's not good if you have hip issues, so I typically don't do that stretch. Okay, next. Since we're on the floor, both of those adductor stretches, the inner thigh stretches, are too hard for you. You can usually do the butterfly stretches, it's really easy to do. Feet together, elbows on your knees. You're going to try to push your knees down as you lean forward into it. You get a nice pull in the adductors. And it's important to breathe while you're stretching. Circular breathing in your nose, out your mouth. Almost 2 to 3 times longer of breathing out your mouth than in your nose. So you breathe in your nose 1 second, out your mouth 3. What that does is gets more oxygen in your lungs, and it helps you relax a little more. The more you relax while you stretch, the faster your muscles release, and the more you can go on about your day. All right, next, if the other hamstring stretches are too hard, this is the most easiest one you can do. Bend your knees, grab your toes, if you can, lock your legs. You're gonna get a nice stretch on maybe lower back, but it's mostly hamstrings. 30 seconds to a minute. Okay. Next I want to do is the rotation stretch. This is primarily for your lower back. Could be for the glute a little bit too. This is a good way to transversely rotate your spine. So what you're going to do is you're going to put your knee over, push your knee to the ground with your opposite shoulder on the ground. You're going to get a nice pull right through here and into the lat, maybe even on the erector, spinning. Seconds to a minute. And switch. Lift your leg, cross your leg over, rotate, shoulder on the ground. And you're getting a pull right through here. Okay. Alright, so that was your lower back. We did your hamstrings, we did your adductors. There's another variation for the IT band. If you're already on the floor, you lay on your back, you cross your leg over, so you put your ankle on your knee, and then you're going to pull the opposite leg to your chest, and lean back. You're going to pull in the hamstring. Hamstring IT band, sorry. Switch, cross your leg over, like so. Pull your hamstring to your chest, Use your opposite elbow to push your knee back. A nice pull. So that concludes all of our leg stretching. We're going to go into upper body stretching now. We pretty much did all the variations that you can do. There's obviously plenty more different types of way to stretch those variations, but these are the most simplest that I know of that will benefit you, and they're easy to do without falling over, losing balance, like certain yoga poses. So this is easy difficulty, I should say, stretching. And remember with stretching, all it is getting it from your origin point and insertion point as far away as possible. So you don't need to do crazy poses in order to stretch. If you want to isolate a muscle to stretch it, that's all you have to do. So if you know your muscles, you know how to do that. All right, next. We did your quads. Let's do your quads too. Quads are really simple. If it's hard for you to grab your leg standing up, all you're going to do is grab your heel from this position and pull back. Like so. This one's specifically for the quads. Side. Grab your ankle and pull back. Now if you want more of a quad stretch, you just pull your knee back as far as you can while you get your heel to your butt. You're going to feel that pull in the quad. And obviously, you don't have to strain your neck, just rest your head on your hand or shoulder or something. Okay. Alright, so that pretty much concludes all the legs. We're going to go into upper body stretching now. Their main ones are your lats and your chest, shoulders, scalenes, all that fun stuff. So let's do that next. Okay, so stretching your lats, what I like to do is I like to do the lateral frontal plane lat stretch. So what you're going to do is you're going to lock your hips forward, make sure they don't move. Your hand is going to be across your face, and then all you're going to do is have your hand touch the floor. Make sure your hips do not fly backward because that's you compensating, and you're going to feel that pull right through here all the way down to the side. 30 seconds to a minute. Alright, going to switch. Arm across your face. Hips forward, they stay forward. And hand on the floor. If you can't touch the floor, that's fine. You can hang or use a pillow, roller, block, it doesn't matter. That way you can relax in that position because you're going to be holding these positions for, a couple minutes at a time. Alright, good. I'll give you a side view. So you can see, hips are forward. You're going to put your hand on the floor, arm across your face, hand on the floor, hips forward. They don't go forward at all. And that way you get that pull, again, right through here. I'll show you the other way. Frontal plane of view. Like that. Okay. Next, we did your lats. Let's do your, there's another variation to your lats, but I think that's the most effective for now. Let's use Let's do your, while we're sitting down, let's do your neck. So you can do this sitting down, standing up, it doesn't matter where you are. Your neck, you have 3 specific main muscles that you can stretch. You have your scalenes, your scalenes, levator, scapula, and your traps. So scalenes are on the side of your neck. They tend to get tight from breathing or just holding your head up all day. Most of your neck muscles do. So what you're going to do is you're going to put your arm behind your back. And the goal here is to get your ear to your opposite shoulder without shrugging your shoulder. You're going to try to get your head close to parallel to the ground. And if you notice your head is stuck here, don't force it. Just if you want to do a light stretch, you're looking for maybe a 3 to 5 pull. If you have a ton of knots in your neck, there's a possibility you might not be able to bring it down very far. So It's important to release those adhesions with knots. Okay, so that's your scalene, so ear to shoulder. Next is going to be your levator scapula. It's another muscle in the upper back. It helps elevate the scapula. It tends to get tight. So what you're going to do is look down at your right pocket with your left arm behind your back, and then you're going to pull your head down to your pocket. You're going to feel that stretch right through here. As long as you're feeling the stretch in the muscle, you're doing it right. If you don't, then it's either you're already stretched or you're doing it bad form. Okay. And then the trap is this huge muscle right here. It gets tight on everybody from computer work, sitting at a desk, etc. So it's the same movement. It's head down at your right pocket. You're going to look the opposite way and pull down at your right pocket. Ooh, mine's tight. You can feel it right here, right through the back. I love doing this when you take like a hot shower in the morning, for example. When you wake up, you just stretch your neck in the shower. The heat helps warm up the muscles, so it makes it a little more easier for them to relax. All right, switch sides, arm behind your back. The reason why we do that is to keep your shoulder down. If you can't put your arm behind your back, it's fine. Just try to hold on to something with your arm. The purpose of this is because your shoulder is going to want to raise when you try to stretch your neck because your neck muscles are tight. So, for example, if I don't hold anything down, this is a tendency. You're not going to get a stretch that way. You got to keep that right shoulder down and then pull your left. Naturally, my left side's tighter than my right because I played ice hockey, and this was the position in ice hockey. Shoulder up, head to the side, completely asymmetrical. My entire left side tightens up based off muscle memory. I release it constantly, but it tightens up. And if you played a sport or if you have an active job that requires you to be in a certain position or asymmetrical position all day, like I have a client who's a dentist, and he's literally in this position with his legs open in a sit-down position. It's going to create a lot of muscle imbalances. You're going to be very asymmetrical from holding that position statically for a long period of time. And what that means is the opposite muscles tend to get very weak and or hyperextended, and then that's where a muscle imbalance happens, and you start getting joint pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, lower back pain, the laundry list of stuff. All right, get off track here. That's scalene. So scalene started this way. Now we're going to look at your left pocket and pull your head down. Your levator. And then for your trap, you're going to turn your head this way. Do not pull. I'll just reset so you don't copy me. Head down for your trap. Rotate and pull. Go pull right through here. I've been a personal trainer, master trainer for almost 20 years now. So I have a good list of different clientele I've seen, and I've seen a lot of muscle imbalance, a lot of issues, but the most common are traps and scalenes becoming very, very tight just from day-to-day stress. Some clients tend to hold their stress in their shoulders just from working. Whenever you're stressed out, you tense up, you tighten up, and naturally your body tries to hold that stress in a specific muscle. Typically it's lower back or traps for most people. And what happens is it tightens up over time, it turns into a giant ball, a giant knot, and it causes pain. It pinches nerves. You have pain up your head, down your arm, down your back. A lot of issues can come from having those pinched nerves and a lot of pain. And I've had a lot of clients come to me over the last years with neck pain, shoulder pain, and most, if not all of them, I was able to help or fix just by correcting their imbalances. I have a massage table here, and I work on their traps, work on their neck, give them homework to do to work on the traps, work on the neck while we activate the opposing muscles like the scapular retractors, the depressors. And what ends up happening is those muscles tend to, they relax, get looser. These muscles in the back, for example, get tighter, like your rhomboids. to the point where your muscles get more balanced, you stop hypercontracting your hyperactive muscles like your traps. They stop bulging up and turn into knots, they stop pinching nerves, and then no more pain. Most pain in your body comes from muscles that are very, very tight, causing altered neuromuscular facilitation, which means compensation. And what happens is when you compensate over and over and over again, you're using the wrong muscles for that movement. The opposing muscles get weaker. The muscles that are hyperactive get stronger and tighter. And then something pulls, something breaks, the joints start hurting, etc. So if you are able to manipulate muscles, understand how they work, and know the origin and insertion points, and release the tight ones, strengthen the weak ones, then you'll be able to pretty much fix anything in your body. It's the premise of physical therapy, and that's kind of what I do. I do physical therapy and personal training, kind of combined in one session. And all my clients have seen great results with it because I use NASM's OPT model, credit to NASM, National Academy of Sports Medicine. And I'm a corrective exercise specialist and performance enhancement specialist through them also. So I've been applying their knowledge for 20 years, very good at it, and helped hundreds, if not probably thousands of clients so far get in shape, get out of joint pain, etc. All right, so next we're stretching your chest. Pretend this is a doorway. I have a doorway, but I'd rather just do it here. You're gonna put your elbow about shoulder height to put your hand on the doorway, and you're gonna walk into it and then rotate the opposite way. So you're gonna turn that way. And you're gonna feel a pull right through here in the chest. And then to show you the opposite way, elbow, shoulder height, hand on the doorway, and then you're going to pull the opposite way. Lean into it and pull the opposite way. And again, you're trying to get a stretch to the chest. All right, so the anterior deltoids, the origin is right on top of the shoulder, insertion is right on top of the humerus. So how do you stretch that? Is you get the origin as far, insertion as far away as possible from the origin point. So it's literally backwards. So what you're gonna do is grab onto a bar if you have one or something high, and then you're gonna walk into it like so, stand up tall. And you're looking for a pull right through here. Grab onto the bar, standing up tall, getting a pull in that shoulder, anterior deltoid. Now, if you don't have a bar, another way you can do it's kind of harder, is you push your palm into the wall, and then you stand up tall. If you can't go that high, it's fine, you can walk yourself up, you can start here, and then slow yourself up. It's easier to do one arm at a time this way. Palm into the wall, stand up tall. All right, so that concludes our stretch video. I will post some other ones in the future, but for now, these are the basics. We did pretty much all your legs. We did your lower back, and we did your upper body, everything that typically gets tight in someone's upper body. Any questions, post a comment. Hopefully you learned a lot. And just make sure that you keep your body flexible and strong. The worst body you can have is a weak and inflexible or tight body. The best body you can have is a strong and flexible, so strength through flexibility, and that's what you always want to promote. You want to promote strength through flexibility. You cannot get stronger. You can't get stronger without getting flexible, in the sense that if you're strong and tight, you're going to end up injuring yourself. So you can continue to get stronger, but if you're not flexible, eventually something's going to break.